Do not leave there your pain, your sorrow, or your joys. Bring them with you into this place of acceptance and forgiveness. Place them on the common altar of life and offer them to the possibility of your worship. Come then and offer yourself to be transformed by that creative process that flows through you and me and all of the universe. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is so good to have you all here. It feels like fall. It looks like fall. It is autumn has arrived. And it is good that you all got up on this gray day and came here to be with each other in worship. I'm Reverend Hank Parish. I'm the interim minister here, and I am assisted this morning by Mallory.
Except who's too disorganized.
And we are so pleased to have you. Mallory will in a moment walk you through all the announcements and stuff. I have two announcements. One is that this morning we have the Reverend Rebecca Hines, who is visiting us. Rebecca is one of I can't remember your official title, but she's one of the ministers at the Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry. Do you want to give us your official title?
Director of Congregational Volunteer Engagement.
There we go. Director of Congregational Volunteer Engagement. That means her job is to get members of congregations that support the Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry to get you to do stuff and have places where you can plug into this fantastic ministry that serves all of Greater Boston and is really a wonderful ministry of our Unitarian Universalist faith here in the Greater Boston area. So, Rebecca, I'm so happy you're here. This is so great. You've seen enough of that. Second thing is that I want to tell you that next week is our Samhain, our All Souls Day celebration, and we want to invite you to bring with you perhaps a token of someone who has been very close to you and important to you, who has died in the past year. To bring a token, whether it's a photograph or some, or perhaps, I always remember the day years ago when we had this in a previous church, and a friend brought up his grandfather's toolbox with him. So we're going to invite all of the adults. We're going to have a service here, led by members of our own Earth-centered worship group who are going to be helping with that service. And also our young folks are also invited to do this as well, to bring items for folks or pets or other folks. And they're going to be having their own worship service in the children's church next Sunday as well. So those are the two things I want to remind you of. And at this point, allow me to turn our service over to Mallory.
Good morning. Welcome to First Parish in Milton. My name is Mallory Diggs, if you don't know me. I'm a member of our worship committee, and it's great to have everyone here. First Parish is a vibrant, welcoming congregation that welcomes all people to grow in their faith and to take action that illustrates that faith, bold action. So we're glad that you're here today. If you're joining us for the first time, or thinking about coming a couple times, there should be in most of the pews an information packet. If there is not a yellow card to fill out in the packet, then you can see one of the ushers, and they will give it to you. Yes, Charlie's waving the yellow card. If you fill that out and drop it in the collection plate, during the collection, we will put you on our mailing list, and you will receive emails about our goings-on and sort of have a better sense, a fuller sense of who we are. If you need child care, we do have child care down the hall, down this hall here, and you can either ask an usher for assistance, or if you go through this door, you will find our nursery with our well-trained assistants. I would like to move now to our announcements. Charlie has a very important announcement from our Ministerial Search Committee.
Good morning. First thing I want to let you know is that the survey is complete at this point. We are working on some aspects of the results, but we expect to get at least a number of the the highlights and the questions up on the church website, and with a link that you can reach at SurveyMonkey. We received 73% response rate from the congregation on our survey, which I think everybody deserves a hand. Now, we're going to try and sort of bring people out of their individual silos where they've been focusing on the survey and have some conversations about both the results and some of the questions that sort of grew out of the survey. And our first cottage meeting is actually going to take place this morning at 12:15. Elise Hendricks and I will be leading that meeting, and I'm sure that there is space left in that meeting if any of you decide at the last minute that you would like to join us this morning. We're hoping to keep these meetings to approximately an hour. We'll be meeting either in the Stebbins parlor, which is right outside this door, or depending on the circumstances, if we get a big crowd, we may actually meet in here in the sanctuary. But we'd love to have you there. There will be other cottage meeting sign-up sheets available during social hour. Thank you.
The work of living our faith is done both inside the sanctuary and outside in the world. And therefore, I'd like to call your attention to the announcements that are in the order of the service. I'm not going to go through them all, but it's this orange sheet, and it tells you what's going on both here and in the community. Take it home, tack it on your fridge. I urge you to consider it carefully. First Parish is a member of the Unitarian Universalist faith tradition, which holds that understanding the world beyond us, the divine, the truth, what people have a lot of different names for it, is an individual journey. But we covenant to walk together in that journey as we each try to figure out our own answers. So your presence here in this sanctuary, as opposed to just going it totally alone, is extremely important and vital. You do belong here. Welcome. Oh yes, oh my God, okay, I forgot. I'm just completely disorganized, I'm really sorry. So, an extending a generous welcome. You can all probably join in and say it with me, right? Extending a generous welcome is a spiritual practice. And I invite us all to extend a welcome to our neighbors. Greet each other for our One of those mornings.
If you would all please remain standing. Sorry, I was forgetting to do this. Please remain standing. Pretend like you haven't sat down. And join us in singing our first hymn. And I also forgot to tell you why Reverend Hines is here this morning. She is here because our own social action committee is meeting this afternoon at noon, right? In the library. And you all, in the parlor, sorry. It always sounds like a game of Clue when I say the parlor. But we're meeting in the parlor at noon, and you're all invited to come to that and hear Rebecca and other ideas. Anyway, hymn number 148. Let freedom span both east and west.
Freedom stand both east and west.
We move in faith to unseen goals. We strive in patience through the night, which weighs upon our darkened souls to some great realm of love and light. Would you please join in reading the unison call to worship, which you'll find printed in your order of worship. Come, let us gather. We gather to celebrate the sacred within and among us. We come to seek spiritual growth and understanding. We strive to practice acceptance, forgiveness, and love. Together we work to fill the world with justice and compassion. Come, let us gather together. Once upon a time, there was a village that had a road which led right down the middle of it, very much like this aisle we have here. It was a very happy village. Everyone got along. No matter what side of the road they lived on, everyone got along. Until this one day, God appears. And she is beautiful. And she decides to walk down this path. And she's wearing these beautiful flowing robes. And she has placed on top of her head the most fantastic hat you've ever seen. And she walks down the center of the road. People in the village come out of their houses and they see God walking. Oh my goodness, it's fantastic! Wow, you know. And she leaves, walks to the village, and someone on this side says, "Did you see God? She was beautiful." And someone on this side said, "Oh my gosh, that robe, her robe, you're fantastic." And someone on this side said, "Yes," and she was wearing that beautiful red hat. And someone over here said, "Oh, no, you must be mistaken. It wasn't a red hat, it was a blue hat." No. We are definitely sure it was a red hat. And the folks on this side, no, it was definitely a blue hat. And the folks on this side were so convinced that it was a red hat, they started to shout, "Red hat." Can I have you guys shout, "Red hat"? Red hat. Let me say it again. Can I have you guys shout, "Red hat"? And then the folks on this side got kind of upset, they yelled back, "Blue hat!" Blue hat! Red hat! Blue hat! And people got, they're so upset that they built a big stone wall right down the center of the town. And they would still every once in a while yell out, "Red hat," and "Blue hat" at each other. But people were so committed to their red hat and that's what their blue hat is, they even set up churches. Some that worshiped a God wearing a red hat, and others who worshiped a God who wore a blue hat. And this went on for years, this wall, and no one ever crossed that wall. And then years later, who comes walking down the center of that wall but God herself? And once again, she looks beautiful, but she's not wearing a hat. And as soon as people in the village come out, both sides of this village come out and they, "Oh God, great, you are here, please, great, tell us about the last time you were here, and tell us about the red hat, or tell us about the blue hat." And God, she stood there for a moment and she said, "I do remember walking through this village once years before, but at the day I came, I was wearing my lovely hat. On one side of it was red, and on the other side of it was blue. And there was complete silence. And then someone started to laugh. It was a child who started to laugh. One child on the red hat side, one child on the blue hat side, and they started to laugh. And the adults started to laugh. And everyone started to laugh, and everyone realized how foolish they had been. And so they took apart that wall. And after many days and after many years, people would tell the story of God's hat and how laughter and love had torn apart that wall that had separated them. So in the coming days, as you go upon your days at school or at work, think about the ways we build walls. to separate ourselves from our fellow villagers, the fellow people that we share our lives with. And with that, we're going to dismiss our young folks off to their classes, and we're going to sing this little light of mine. We have, we're going to sing. So for those of you who are staying, please join in singing this fine little hymn as our young folks head off to their classes.
In the dark blue-gray hymnals. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith, but do not have works? Can faith save you?
If the brothers and sisters naked and lack daily food, and one of you says to them,
go in peace, keep warm, and eat your fill.
and yet do not supply their bodily needs, what is the good of that?
So faith, by itself, if it has no works, is dead.
Show me your faith apart from your works, and I, by my works, will show you my faith.
Please join in singing. It's here. I lost my order of service.
Last Sunday, at the First Church Somerville, United Church of Christ, they held their 5th annual Drag Gospel Festival. It is their way of demonstrating the radical welcome they believe Jesus offered to all kinds of people. especially people exiled to the margins just for being people God made them to be. Queer or straight or a little bit of each. Male or female or a little bit of each. And they hung up posters in coffee shops and places around Somerville that depicted Jesus in drag, with lipstick and earrings. They said, well, we often depict Jesus as this white blonde guy. That's pretty disrespectful to probably how Jesus actually looked. Why not use this way of playing with this image to get our point across? As the service began, the ministers noticed a single man sitting in the front row who looked out of place. Most other folks were dressed up to celebrate this annual drag worship service. They looked at him and they wondered what was going on. He looked nervous, anxious, maybe even a little bit angry. And sure enough, after the reading of the scriptures that morning, he stood up and began to disrupt the worship service. After a few scary and chaotic moments, the man left the worship service and the service continued. This morning I heard another story of someone whose church had also been invaded last week by a group of people who thought they knew what God wanted better than what the members of that church wanted. And yesterday I also heard of how the Black Lives Matter banner in front of the First Parish in Arlington had been painted on. The word black had been someone had tried to spray paint white paint over the word black. And the metal poles which held the sign in the front lawn were bent over. And after hearing about these events, I found myself wondering, what beliefs does this church hold so strongly that if we put a banner out front announcing what it was, that it could upset our neighbors or others who drove by to the point where they felt they needed to protest us? What is it that this church holds so passionately that might be disruptive to the way people normally here in Milton or in our larger community think about the world, think about their relations with other people? What is it that we hold to be so important that if we put a banner up announcing that it could make people want to come in here and disrupt our worship service or somehow to damage that banner? I've heard of disagreements that have gone on in this church. Disagreements about the cross and the scriptures painted on the walls, or the issues that went on some years ago around the synagogue. I even found that once during the presidency of Thomas Jefferson, a fight occurred after the worship service between folks who were Federalists and folks who were Whigs. But you know what? Those were all sort of internal struggles. Those were all things, passions that were brought up between members of the congregation. This isn't really about stuff that we had done outside of the church. Now, I don't know all the stories of your church, but these are just the ones that I've heard about. So I'm wondering if there is anything that we believe so strongly that would upset folks outside the church if we publicize that belief. What religious beliefs do you all hold that would urge you to act? And when I say religious beliefs, I don't mean that we have a non-creedal faith. Okay, that's not really all that upsetting to folks. Or that we have a different belief about the divinity of Jesus than we do. We have a different understanding of the divinity of Jesus than the folks who have a congregation right across the common here who split from us because of this different belief. But heck, we probably have different beliefs about the divinity of Jesus from one side of the pews to the other, never mind across the common. And those aren't things that are really, people are really passionate about these days anyway. I mean, your religious belief about the creation. Perhaps that compels you to do more recycling. Or your religious belief compels you to be active around issues of race, or issues around gay and bisexual, transgender, lesbian, queer issues. Maybe those are the issues that we hold so passionately that others might be shocked if they knew what it was we believed. What is it that we are passionate about here? Now, the responsive reading that we heard this morning, or took part in this morning, comes from the Christian Scriptures, the second chapter in the letter of James, which is all about the importance of actions over belief. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith but do not have works? Can faith save you? Show me your faith without works, and by my works I will show you my faith. Faith without works is dead. Works are the actions that we take that are based upon what it is we believe, right? As a Unitarian Universalist, what constitutes our works? Is it the work we do in social justice? Is it being on a committee? Are the works the child dedications, the prayers, the trappings of a 2,000-year-old faith? Is that what our works are? In the Christian Scriptures, James begins this section by using the example of someone who says they have faith but have no works. What is it? What is the use if you do that? If you can't show your beliefs out in the world, what good are they? James is addressing the issues of a dead faith. A faith that has nothing more than a verbal pronouncement, a public confession of the mind, but is not heartfelt. It's empty of life and of action. To Martin Luther, works was a term used to describe the rituals, the liturgies, and the laws of the Roman Catholic Church. And to be honest, Luther hated this letter from James so much that when there was all this translation going on of the scriptures into into German, into the language of the people who were reading it, as opposed to just the sort of the priestly language of Latin, he said he just hated James so much that he said, when we reprint the Bible, we should just leave James out. Let's leave James out. It's all about works and doing stuff, and people didn't listen to him, and James continued to be part of the canon. But this idea of faith alone, that was Luther's big statement. Faith alone is what will save us, and which became the rallying cry for Protestants. It is central to their identity. An individual is saved by belief in Jesus Christ, not by performing some rituals. But over time, Protestants took works to mean more than just rituals. It came to mean even by doing good works, social justice-y things. One is not saved just because you do nice things. Right? This is an evangelical tool about getting people to join their church. Right? If you want to go to heaven with the rest of us along, you have to believe and have to buy our brand of religion. And it works. It works, this idea of faith alone, of belief alone. It works not just for Christianity, but it works in Islam and other faiths that want to attract outsiders into it. Evangelical Christians, of course, knock on people's doors and preach on corners, and some even invade other people's churches because they want everyone to go to heaven, so they want to make sure that everyone understands their explicit understanding of what they thought Jesus was saying 2,000 years ago in a different language that's been translated a few different times, and is culturally very different from where we are today. Still, with all of those different lenses, people still feel the need, the urge to tell folks how to believe correctly. Not how to act correctly, but how to believe correctly. But we can't just do good works. Right? Can we? Or can we? Can we just do good works? Is that enough? Is being a faith just about doing good works? If it is, why have a faith at all? We should have a faith because a faith should inform us as to how we are to do these good works. By having a faith, by being part of a religious community, you are including yourself in a discussion with other people whom you meet and interact with. It's a history, a theology, a way of looking at the world while also standing in it. Because if you don't have a clear understanding of why you are doing something, you can be led astray. If you don't have a clear understanding of your beliefs, your works may be off. This morning, along with every other thing going on, I was trying to think about a good example of times when we've been led astray because of a belief. We've been led astray of how we've done works. And the only thing that jumped to my mind was, this was, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. There was all this discussion about Sunday blue laws. Remember when things weren't open on Sundays? Right? Gas stations were open and places that sold milk and bread were open. But the thing that people were really upset about, at least perhaps maybe only amongst my friends 20 years ago, was that liquor stores were closed on Sundays. And if you wanted to watch a football game, you had to go either drive up to New Hampshire and come back. You all remember this. I'm sure you all remember this. Or having to stop up on Saturday, right? And so people said, we're going to pass this law that will allow us to keep stores open on Sundays. And that will allow us to keep our liquor stores open. And it was this huge wave of folks. Yes, we want to be able to buy booze on Sundays so we can watch beer, we can watch TV and relax with our friends and not have to drive to New Hampshire. And so this vote was held, it was passed. The Sunday blue laws went out the window. You still weren't allowed to buy beer or alcohol in the state for another 5 years because that didn't actually correct that law, but it did mean that all these other stores were open on Sundays. Laws that weren't there so much to promote people to going to church, but perhaps were there to ensure that everyone had one day off a week when they could rest and be with family. Not just those who could afford to have Sundays off, but everybody. Having a faith, when you're able to understand why these actions that you do, having a way that you can judge whether they are right or wrong is so important. Having a faith can lead you to doing good work, but doing good work can inform your faith. But just doing good works, will just doing good works bring you to faith? Probably not. Does having faith alone lead you to doing good works? I hope it does. It goes back to what I mean, what works mean to Unitarian Universalists. Because we don't have a set of dogma that we believe, right? We're this non-creedal faith. We believe that each individual has the ability to decide for themselves where truth lies, where religious truth lies. And since we don't have that, we often look to the default of our culture as a guidance for what we should do and what we should believe. That means sometimes we act more like a liberal political body than a liberal religious body. It's what my UCC colleagues sometimes call being PC winning over JC, right? Political correctness winning over Jesus Christ. We sometimes look at what is going on in our culture in our political culture, and we use that as a measuring stick of how we should act as a religious people rather than looking to our faith as a measuring stick for how we should act in the rest of the world. Forbes magazine about 5 years ago wrote this in an article about how bosses should interact with their staff. But it was interesting because they talked about, they had this religious impulse buried in the middle of this article. The author wrote, "We need to be connected to other people. We need to know that our work matters. We need leaders who respond to those first two needs when times are tough. Intimacy and ultimacy are two universal human quests. Our deepest desire to have close personal relationships while we are on this planet and to make a contribution to that will last when we're not on this planet." Right? So intimacy is having close personal relationships, and ultimacy is that our life has meaning. And that meaning will continue after we are no longer here in this realm of being. Not by faith alone, not by works alone. But through our works we come to define our beliefs better. Ours is a faith that ever since Ralph Waldo Emerson stood up and said, "Go out and find God in the real world," and not just what someone else wrote in a book. I'm paraphrasing. Ever since Emerson said, "Go out and experience the divine out in creation," has our faith taken the importance of personal experience and said this is a very important part of how we understand our faith. Other faith traditions say, to understand our faith, you need to read these books, you need to act these ways, here are the ways you need to act. Ours says your personal experience as a mother, as a worker, as someone who is young, someone who has traveled, all of these personal experiences, good and bad, influence your understanding of the divine, the sacred, and how we are to be in the world, and that is fantastic. That is what makes our faith so special, is that we hold up that experience as being part of the greater canon of our beliefs. And then to be able to take what it is we believe and share that with other people is so important. To have those opportunities. Because we need to have those ways that we've been in the world and others have been in the world. Because we need to have a faith that is more than just intellectual, right? We need to have a faith that is more than just neck up. We need to have a faith that has hands and heart in this world that we can work on, that we can help transform with our hands and our hearts. We need to have a faith that when people look at us, whether they're looking at our building or they're looking at us, they'll say they are following their faith. They are following their faith by their actions, and that is impressive, or that scares me, or something. That they're able to look at us and not just sort of say, "Oh, they're those folks who go to that church because they have great music, and they're nice people, and they've got a great coffee hour," but they come here for a reason. Because we love each other, and we love this world, and we want to be active in this world. We want to show that we are linked. We understand the kinship of all things. And you know what else is exciting? It's exciting that you all have a chance to go today to this social justice meeting. This committee hasn't met yet this year. Each and every one of us have a few pet projects that we'd love to see our church get involved in. There's in fact too many. If each and every one of us wrote down the things that we cared about, it'd be too much for any one organization to share and to take part in, but there are enough. And that you have this committee who is meeting today who's going to hear some ways that we can plug into the work that's going on at the urban ministry, the things that we can sort of say, this is what I'm passionate about. And you can have influence in that. You can have influence because it is there's a sacredness to being active in this world. Let me end with words by Andrew Harvey, who is a religious scholar and teacher of mysticism. He wrote, "A spirituality that is only private and self-absorbed, one devoid of an authentic political or social consciousness, does little to halt the suicidal juggernaut of history. On the other hand, an activism that is not purified by profound spiritual and psychological self-awareness and rooted in divine truth and wisdom and compassion will only perpetrate the problem it is trying to solve. However righteous its intention. When, however, the deepest and most grounded spiritual vision is married to a practical and pragmatic drive to transform all existing political, economic, and social institutions by a holy force, the power of wisdom and love in action is born. This force I define as sacred activism." May it be so. May it be so. Our second hymn this morning, you'll find in the Silver and Gray hymnals, it's number 315, "This Old World," 315. Let's open our hearts in prayer. Thou, nameless one, giver of peace, author of truth, good beyond all that is good, fair beyond all that is fair, in you is calmness, peace, and comfort. Heal the divisions that divide us from one another. Bring us back to the unity of love, bearing some likeness to your divine nature. Through the embrace of love, the bonds of godly affection, make us one in the Spirit by your peace, which makes all things peaceful. We pray for the church and the whole world, for the whole world in the church. Sanctify her life, renew her worship, give power to her witnessing, restore her unity. Heal the divisions separating your children from one another, that they may make fast with bonds of peace the unity which the Spirit gives. On this morning, Mallory asks us to celebrate the winning division title of Milton High School's football yesterday. Iris asks us to pray for Mexico and southern Texas, which have been affected by an enormous hurricane. Robert asks for strength for his wife Sandra, who has been re-diagnosed with cancer. And also celebrate the birth of my grandniece, born yesterday, Charlotte Cecile McElroy. May all of those joys and sorrows shared along with all of those left unspoken be cradled in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. We pray for all who struggle with illness, both visible and invisible. We pray for those who need comfort and for those who seek justice, and this we ask in the name of all that is gracious and glorious and good. Amen. Let us be in silence for a few minutes. We should view the offering as an opportunity to express our gratitude for all the good things in our lives, whether they come from God's doing, or our own doing, or just good fortune. It's not important. What is important is that we take a moment every now and then to reflect on the blessings in our lives and to express our gratitude for them. This morning's offering will be given in gratitude and gratefully received. transformed into strength for this faith community, into comfort for food and shelter for those who need, and may we be transformed by generosity. Thank you. And please remain standing and join in singing our final hymn. It's number 199. Thank you. Anybody knew we need guys, so thank you. Hymn number 199, Precious Lord, my hand, 199. I forgot one thing to remind you about next week. Next week, not only am I inviting you to bring things for our All Souls Halloween service, but I also want to remind you to set your clocks back. Set your clocks back. It is the one time in the year when everyone is on time to church. I realize that. And I also wanted to say to those of you that if you do show up early, that's great. Show up early. You can sing in the choir. You can sing with all these great people. And perhaps you can have a little extra piece just for a little quartet or however many of you show up. Just for those of you who show up early. Or maybe, I don't know. If we recognize that change and uncertainty are basic principles, we can greet the future and the transformation we are undergoing with the understanding that we do not know enough to be pessimistic. Our worship is over. Our service begins. Go in peace.